All right, and joining me today from North Pole Hoops, we've got Tariq Sbiet. How are you doing today, sir?
I'm doing great, Kyle. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks for joining us. How are things in your neck of the woods there? What's day-to-day life like at North Pole Hoops headquarters?
Right from the jump, eh? Loaded question right there. No, it's been good in a sense of that it's been really busy. Obviously, since with COVID hitting in about March, it changed a lot of things with the operation, the organization. Probably from a North Pole Hoop standpoint, the biggest thing, as well as MPA, is all the events are on pause.
Yeah.
Camps, tournaments, leagues are all on pause, and so kind of implemented a mindset within our team and within our company culture that we got to prepare for the worst as if basketball is never coming back, which obviously is not the case. But so with that said, we got to be able to be more diverse digitally. And luckily and fortunately for our company is our company was built on digital. It was built on social media. Without Instagram and Twitter and social media in general, our company would not exist. So we're just basically doubling down on that aspect, and being able to train and develop our other teammates to get to a level where we can expand. That's kind of where we're at now, and we're fortunate I was able to launch a consultation business and brand with TS, and that's been really good to kind of explore things for myself personally outside of basketball, as well as still stay involved because obviously a passion of mine, but just explore other passions essentially as well.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, anyone who's involved in the Canadian basketball landscape there is well versed with North Pole Hoops and this type of things that you do. But if there was someone who was listening right now who had never heard of North Pole Hoops or isn't familiar with the stuff that you guys have going on there, what's sort of the Coles Notes version of NPH in a nutshell?
Yeah, so I mean, I think it's really evolved over the years of how I explain it and to who I explain it. But I said it to one of my staff members yesterday. It's a growth platform. When you come into North Pole Hoops, whether you're come into our ecosystem, whether you're a coach, a player, a media member, a striving marketer, event manager, you can come into North Pole Hoops and expect it to have growth potential as long as you put the work in. And so it kind of transcends basketball in a lot of ways, but specifically on a basketball level, like if you're a player from 10 years old all the way to the NBA, we help you get there, give you the plan to get there. We provide the platforms for you to get there, whether it be exposure camps, tournaments, leagues. We just want to be able to support the dreams of these kids and and then beyond the players, just the talent that we have in our country. And we have an amazing amount of talent coast to coast.
Yeah, no, for sure. And definitely lately we're starting to see the fruits of those, exposure camps and, opportunities there with some of the NBA players having the postseasons that they are there too. So has it been kind of cool to follow, Jamal Murray and some of the boys there with their runs that they've been on?
Yeah, we actually did an interview with National Post the other day about Jamal Murray. So they were asking me about, his upbringing as far as, what makes him different. And I told them that it's his mind. It's not his, body, physicals. Obviously he's a good athlete and he's skilled, but it's his mind that distinguishes him from everybody in the NBA. And we talked about how he was meditating when, he actually helped me start with his father, Roger, on that kind of meditation journey and the mental mindfulness and developing your mindset. And at the time he was in high school, obviously, and I'm a couple of years older than him, at least a couple of years older than him. So he was way more mature than I was at his age. So I took a lot out of that whole journey and experience. And to see him doing what he's doing at the NBA level, it's special, man, because we've been to all the NBA drafts, whether it was Wiggins or Stauskas. Like I was there in New York, Elias was there in New York, and we saw these kids get drafted. And every time it feels like we got drafted, because just being a part of the journey and just like you celebrate their success, right? And so we're just fortunate, man, to be involved the way we are with these players and their futures, and and seeing it like it's nonstop. We have another wave coming, and it's more exciting than the last. So it's pretty cool, definitely, to see it all come to fruition.
For sure, for sure. So, I mean, if we take it back to the beginning here, both you and your brother have been heavily involved in basketball, long before you started NPH and any of your ventures there. At what point, did you guys sort of have the conversation as far as, okay, this is more than just a pastime and a passion for us. There's a viable business opportunity here. Do you remember sort of a moment that stands out where you guys decided like we're going to make a go of this and try and get it off the ground?
Right from the beginning, like, so I, prior to, running a business, I was a guy that was coming in elementary school with like marbles, I'd come like with nothing and kind of leave with everything, like whether it's marbles or pogs, or whatnot, come from a lower income kind of situation from our family background. We're second generation. Parents come from the Middle East, first generation. So they weren't really in tune with those aspects that like culturally that the kids were in tune with, but I always found a way to make it happen. And, so when we launched, Elias was, he was in teachers college, and I asked him to jump on board and kind of like, let's go pursue the dream. Let's pursue the passion that is basketball. And definitely we were in it to win it from day one. Like, we weren't coming in for it to be a hobby. That's why we put our whole lives into it right from the beginning. And obviously a ton of sacrifice, all the way till this day goes into being, an entrepreneur, and it's not easy, but, to be able to wake up every morning and say, hey, we're helping players, we're helping coaches, we're talking to D1 guys, NBA guys, like being involved with basketball, I don't feel I'm ever working, I try to even refer to it as like, I don't use the word work, I say we're making magic, you know what I mean? We're creating every single day. And so it was, to answer your question, it was just right from the jump. We wanted to create an opportunity. Obviously, like the foundation of what we were doing was to help kids, and still is to help people with exposure. That was the big thing, exposure opportunities. But certainly we felt like, hey, we put the work in, you're going to eventually see the financial gain, or the future, create a future within the sport. It was just tough because there was no precedent in Canada. Like, we were creating our own lane, we're creating our own pathway, and making mistakes, a ton of mistakes over 10 years plus. But that's how you learn, though. So you don't regret any of it. You learn from it, and you keep moving forward.
Yeah. Any of the millennials that are listening right now are going to be thinking, what the heck are marbles and pogs and all that?
Good point. Yeah. Good point.
But I mean, so you kind of addressed it there, but right from the beginning, then what was it? When you were first starting out, was it kind of a side hustle thing, or were you guys all in from day one, quit all your jobs, put all your, poker chips in the middle and said, let's do this?
Great question. Yeah. So my last quote unquote job was when I was 18. I was a waiter at a shawarma restaurant. And my brother, he was working multiple jobs to fund the operation so that I could travel out to Peach Jam in Atlanta, to Los Angeles, and build the network for coaches in these events. And so he would be working construction, and he was just transitioning from university, like basically moved on from, you know what, I'm not going to be a teacher, I'm going to do this North Pole Hoops. And so, but like by and large, like I would say a couple of years as it progressed, we went all in, and we just, like, a lot of it was 100% after the initial, financial investment that we needed to kind of, cover certain expenses. We needed to then, okay, let's take the next step, and it needs more of our energy, right, if we're going to build it. And so, and it's tough, right, because, and I see it all the time with people now that come to me, and I'm trying to help them out and trying to, create a career path that it's like you love the passion aspect, but you need to pay the bills. And then sometimes a lot of people get stuck, like, do I take the risk and then take out stability and then pursue the passion, or do I just stay stable and not take the risk and just continue to pay the bills? So one way or another, you got to sacrifice, and that's what we had to do, is to sacrifice our our time and to be able to build it properly.
Yeah, yeah. So, I mean, we look back on it there. You guys sort of formally launched in 2011 here. So we're talking almost a decade ago now.
Yeah.
What have been some of the biggest changes or, evolutions within your business that you've seen over that course of time, just between from where you first started to where you guys are now?
Yeah. Every year, there's been an evolution, because the market is evolving,
Hmm.
and it's always about listening to the market. What do they want? What do they need? Sometimes they might need this year, might not need something that they needed last year. Sometimes they need something different. So first it was strictly online on the website, writing articles, writing scouting reports. Then it became right after that the exposure camps, which was a focal part of our business. That was for many years, probably 8 of the 10 years, like the focal part of business. Now it's the smallest part of our business.
Hmm.
Um, so it went from exposure camps to tournaments to leagues. But if you look at the progression to run an event, exposure camp, that would probably be the least team based aspect of it. But then when you're running a tournament, now you're working with other parties. Then you're running a league. Now you're like, so it's becoming a little bit more um, uh, collaborative effort with other organizations, and it's not easy when because you're trying to get everyone to focus on the same vision, on one vision, and do it at a very high level. And that's one thing that we really take pride in, is like, we're not trying to do it at 50%. We want to do it at the highest level possible, and in order to do that, you need the right partners and the right groups to also be able to operate at the same level, and be open to like holding each other accountable. Like, hey, MPH, we messed up here. Let's improve here. Let's own that. Let's get better on the operations side, or media side, or marketing side, whatever the case may be. So yeah, and so every year it's evolved till this day. Obviously COVID hits,
Yeah.
pure evolution, you know what I mean? Like, I could have easily like waved the white flag and company North Pole would not exist anymore. I could have made that decision. It was like, it's not happening, not on my watch. Like, we're gonna push through it, and we're gonna evolve. And I'm fortunate enough to have been through some, and everyone has been through their struggles in life, and depressions and stuff. And, I just felt like what happened to me 4 years ago in that aspect really prepared me for that moment where I didn't even flinch when it happened. Like, I would just say, okay, well, we've been here before. Let's just create some new stuff. Let's just create new things, because we've started from zero anyway. And so why not just build something new? And that's what I did with the consultation side.
Yeah, yeah, no, for sure. And, lots of evolution and growth over the years, obviously. But, looking ahead to next year, COVID aside, let's assume we get back to some sort of normalcy there. It'll be sort of your official 10-year anniversary. Do you have anything special planned to sort of celebrate that, or any kind of new ventures you're planning on launching to mark sort of that success that you guys have had over the last 10 years?
Yeah, so I think my math is not my strong suit, but I think last year was like official year 10, because it was like, so 2000, we launched January of 2011, right in the beginning of 2011.
Yeah.
So 2011, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20,
Yeah.
right? January of 2020 would have been officially 10. So now we'd be going on to 11. But I think that the thing that I want to do with North Pole Hoops team, family, and just everyone, all the supporters, I want to definitely host like an event. We've never done it where it's like a banquet hall type of thing, where we can kind of get everybody in under one roof and just celebrate Canadian basketball, because that's like what we represent. And it's beyond our internal team. It's our partners, it's our colleagues, it's our clients, everybody in the basketball community that really cares so about the game. So I've always wanted to do that. The timing has always been off, but I think that would be the next kind of thing that I would love to do.
Yeah, yeah. So keep an eye out for a basketball version of the ESPYS essentially there.
Yeah, exactly. There you go. I like that.
Nice, nice. So I mean, outside of just the NPH stuff and the exposure things that you guys are doing there, you guys also formed the National Preparatory Association a few years back there as well too.
Mm.
So I mean, you hear all the time about leagues and circuits and all that sort of springing up, but for you guys, you guys put a real emphasis on making it national from coast to coast there. What was the driving force behind, focusing on a national platform as opposed to a regional or just a provincial one
Yeah. Um, well, right from the jump, it was always a national initiative for the camps. Like our first exposure camp ever was actually in Nova Scotia, not in Ontario. Funny enough, but it was always a national scope that we wanted and we envisioned, because we were, we're out of Mississauga, Ontario, and we, as players, we watched players come up that were way better than us that never got opportunities, and like we never got the opportunity. We felt like, now if we were playing basketball, we could. So it was always kind of a national approach to it, because there's talent all over the country, and like the game is growing all over the country. People love basketball, and I remember always, growing up, British Columbia always had a couple 7-footers every year for some reason. They had the height. Nova Scotia had, this guard. They didn't have the height, but they had the gritty guards. Quebec had this toughness, defense first minded, like grind out type of players. So every kind of region in the country had a personality, just by watching, like, the national champion, like Team Quebec versus Team Ontario, stuff like that. So we knew there was talent. It's just like, imagine if we invested time and energy into those areas as well as Ontario. What could happen, right? And that's what it has been over the last 10 years. It's been an investment into Canadian basketball, traveling around the country. We didn't have to travel around the country. Like, it's definitely not like from a business, like pure now, like with the experience that I have now, like and this is, I think, a good message for people to take in basketball. Like, from a business, dollars and cents standpoint, it's a terrible business to be in when it comes to like basketball, and not just a Canadian basketball, but basketball in general in the beginning stages. And it's a marathon. It's an absolute marathon. And what I've learned and I've seen is most people do not stand the test of time. They do not have the stamina to stay long in the race long enough to be able to see the return on investment. And, it's been a 10-year investment, and it will always be an investment for us, because we're always trying to get to the next level, and for the game to get to the next level. So, it's that whole 10 years and coast to coast traveling, like, we could have just kept it local, but like, it was like, imagine, like, we wouldn't see Jashawn Henry. We wouldn't see, Manroop Claire and Jermaine Haley and Awir and Ahir Ugwak and all these players, that we've seen, Julian Roach from New Brunswick, the list goes on forever. But I was so excited and curious. I'm like, we're about to go to Alberta. What are we going to find here? You know what I mean? What diamond in the rough are we going to see? And it was amazing, because, when you go out there and you speak to the community and the clubs and it's just like, it really inspires me to know that, hey, like, they just need some support. They really care about the game. They really care about their kids. They just need some type of, like, I guess, validation from the outside to say, hey, you guys are on the right track, or this is how we're doing it in Ontario, or whatever the case may be. And, when you actually see the kid is a 6'7" long athlete that's raw, but has a great feel and has skill, it's just like, dang, this guy can make it to the NBA with a little bit of support and infrastructure, or even if it's not NBA, like, get a scholarship, you know what I mean? Help a kid change his life. These guys, a lot of these kids come from humble beginnings. So those are the things I would say that have driven us. It's like, it's not the financial gain. It's not, we don't go in it we're coming in here to be millionaires. Like, we're coming in here because we love basketball, and let's build a business around basketball. Like, that's the approach. That's my 2 cents to give anybody that's interested in, like, being a part of basketball for a lifetime. You're going to have to grind it out for many, many, many years. But love it. If you love it enough and you're passionate about it enough, you can push through. You know what I mean? You just can't stop. That's the reality.
Yeah. And that's a pretty cool factor as well too that you mentioned, is that you have had the opportunity to go literally coast to coast, whether it's exposure camps or an NPA session in a different province or whatever. So you've been exposed to quite a few different provincial systems and pipelines of talent and all of that there. I mean, Toronto and Montreal always get their shine for sort of, producing elite level basketball talent there. But have you come across any little pockets that have been sort of hotbeds of producing those high end athletes over the years that maybe most people wouldn't necessarily think of in terms of, producing NBA or Div 1 level talent there? Is there any slept on cities that sort of stand out to you?
Well, Quebec is a monster. Definitely. We've seen that, and we've been saying that for 10 years. Alberta is coming very strong with the talent pool in general. Nova Scotia is always respectable. and there's talent everywhere, man. It's a numbers game, obviously population, but Ottawa, obviously, and I kind of look at Ottawa, obviously it's part of Ontario, but it's kind of like that. They got that chip on their shoulder in Ottawa, and each community is evolving and maturing as they learn to work with the highest level of athlete. Like if you've never worked with an NBA player, you don't have a precedent to that. But if you have, it's like, oh, Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, who's out of Hamilton, Jamal Murray, who's out of Kitchener. They have a precedent for what that player looked like at the high school level, so they can work off of that. And that's the same precedent that we have on all the Canadians in the NBA. Like we know what these guys looked like when they were 14, 15, 16 years old, and what they need. And so what we've seen, you spoke about the MPA, is that's an infrastructure. They need an infrastructure to be able to and support what that has. Like we try to create it so like all you have to do as a player is do your job, put the work in. Like not everything else is. We'll do our job. You know what I mean? The prep programs will do their job. The league will do its job. Just do your job as a player. Put the work in. Get your education. Make sure you get you stay. You do the courses that you need to do, and that's the pathway. That will work itself out if you put the work in. Yeah. And that's the way it should be.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And, Canada, especially as a country, seems to have really taken a step forward in terms of, refining the process of getting the players from point A to point B and where they need to go over the last few years there. I mean, you ask a casual basketball fan, name a Canadian NBA player, pre this era, outside of Steve Nash, they're probably going to struggle. Right.
Exactly.
But now you've got the Jamal Murrays, the SGAs, Tristan Thompsons, the list goes on and on and on. So what, in your opinion, has sort of changed in the last, 5, maybe even 10 years that we've taken that next step forward? Is it the exposure? Is it just the refining the process? Or is it something completely different as far as getting them to their end goals and performing at the highest levels?
Yeah, I wouldn't say that it's one specific thing. It's a combination of everything. And I think, again, using the reference points, when you see these NBA players, what do you think that's doing for the 10-year-old right now, or the 18-year-old? What do you think the Raptors winning a championship has done for the country? So it's a combination of checkpoints that serve as inspiration, because when we were traveling around the country 8-10 years ago, we'd be in Saskatchewan, we'd be in BC, like they had no belief, and forget NBA, that they could even be, a next level player. They didn't even know how good they were or how good they could be, because no one would tell them that. And then that's where the exposure component comes in, and it's like a double-edged sword, because on one end we want to celebrate these kids and give them the respect that they deserve, and on the other side we want to hold them accountable to say, hey guys, like don't believe the hype, keep going. This doesn't mean if you get ranked or if you get an article or you get a social media post that you've made it. This is just a sign to say you're on the right track and to keep going. And that's where we work with the basketball community to ensure that, hey, like this is the message as North Pole Hoops we're trying to send. But if you don't know what we're about, and we've seen this over the years, is like people in the community might be like, hey, oh, they're just a hype machine. No, it's not a hype machine. It's actually serving as inspiration. And also if you're a club coach or if you're a rep coach or a prep coach, like it's a team effort, and we have to send the same message across the board of putting the work in, not taking shortcuts, and pushing forward, taking care of business as a player.
Yeah. Maybe looking at the flip side of the coin there, is there anything, whether it's as a country or just even provincially, that we still need to change or still need to improve in order to sort of, streamline that method there? If you had a magic wand that could change one thing on the Canadian basketball landscape, what would that be maybe?
Big one is facilities. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of roadblocks in the way with facilities, beyond the financial. Obviously the financial is a big one, but there's a lot of what's the right word to use, there's a lot of false narratives or stereotypes about basketball. Like, everyone wants to support the Raptors, but not everyone supports grassroots basketball, and all you have to see is 3 million people walking around the streets of Toronto, which is unprecedented in any sport, to know that basketball is here to stay forever. And so there's this at the very high levels, executive levels, and the, ownership levels of, real estate. There's roadblocks there that are saying like there's this false, like, oh, basketball doesn't bring in money. There's no return on investment there. That's an emotional approach, not a business approach. Well, first of all, it's a multi billion-dollar industry globally, and Canada is the fastest growing sport. Canada basketball is the fastest growing sport in Canada, and Canada owns the second most players in the NBA around the world outside of America. Mm-hmm. So put two and two together and realize, hey guys, hockey can coexist with basketball. It's not one or the other. Like, let's cut the bullshit, okay, and let's keep the ball moving, for lack of a better term. But what's happening right now is there's people that are trailblazers that are breaking those doors down, and they're business-minded people, and we're breaking those doors down. We are breaking those doors down to ensure that there are facilities all over the country, more options, because when it comes to, if you look at the States, there is a basketball complex with like eight full courts, like all over the place, like in every neighborhood, it seems. And so we need more facilities for our kids, because especially right now through COVID, you can't use schools anymore. That was the biggest thing. Public schools, Catholic schools, you can't use the schools. We have to have our own private facilities, and the private sector is emerging right now, which is exciting for basketball, because the private sector needs to emerge in order for the game to get to that next level. Like, I really, really appreciate the volunteer aspect of coaching, and there's a need for it, and there will always be a need for it. But there's also a business component, and those two have to meet. It's not one or the other, because and what makes Canada so great is that there are volunteers that really care. They're not looking for anything for themselves. They're just trying to help the kids. But as you go up levels, it's like, this is a business, and there's this ideology in Canada that it's wrong for basketball to be a business. Now, if the business is bringing true value, it will live and it will succeed. If the business is, a money grab, which it's a term I've heard for years that they've referred to North Pole Hoops as in some cases, and I really like. I'm glad like we could have this conversation, like, because it's a podcast. It's a great platform for it, because I can explain myself. Like, I get super offended by that, right? Because like the investment that I was talking, 10-year investment that we put into this, where we're not making money, we're just trying to build a business in basketball, and they say it's a money grab, but are not putting that type of sweat equity into it. Like, I get very offended by that, and then I try to communicate and educate like what it actually is. There is nothing wrong. And this is a clip I'm going to take. I'm going to take it out, cut it out, and put it out. There is nothing wrong with running a business in basketball. The focus is provide value to people. If people need you for a service, or if you're bringing value to people, there is nothing wrong with running a business in basketball. Basketball is a multi-billion-dollar industry. But our philosophy at North Pole Hoops is, number one, you put the player or the people first. Second, you put the game, and the business will follow. That's literally our philosophy. We will, because if you don't put the kids first and the game first and the people first, people aren't dumb. They're going to know. And then it will be a money grab. But if you take care of those first two, the business will follow. The opportunities will follow, because people will trust you and know that, hey, you're not here to rip them off. You're here to support their dreams, which is what we have done and continue to do. And so that's, I think, the business of basketball and the industry that is forming is the thing that what you're going to see is post-COVID, over the next 1-2 years, you're going to see another boom. It's like, it works like momentum, right? So you get the Raptors, boom, we got a little momentum there. Then we went back a little bit, with COVID. Then you're going to see another boom. And it's going to be in the business of basketball. Facilities are going to allow for our players, our community to thrive, not in a way where it's like, it's going to happen because it's competitive nature in any industry and human nature. But I don't look at it. I don't try to compete externally. I like to compete internally, like try to be better than yesterday. Like, you know, there's going to be a lot of facilities that are going to come up. There's going to be a lot of clubs that are going to form. There's going to be a lot of prep teams that are going to form. But it's like focusing on what you do. There's enough for everybody to eat. You know what I mean? And that's always has been my approach. But it's you want to connect with people that are like-minded in that regard. They're not like looking at you as competition and, you know, you're fearful and self-conscious about like their territory and stuff like that. It gets really easy like that. And I've noticed it across the country. It's not like a Toronto thing or a Ottawa thing or a Calgary thing. It's a human nature thing, I would say.
Yeah, yeah, and you know, I'm so glad you brought it up, because that's the number one thing that I've been harping on for years, and it's, you know, tends to fall on deaf ears, it seems like, in terms of the decision makers, is the lack of facilities. And
yeah,
here in Ottawa, I'm hoping at least that the one sort of takeaway from the policymakers that they can realize here is, I hope that a couple of them had a son or a daughter that was in basketball and quickly realized that with the schools not renting space, 95% of all basketball courts in the city are now gone.
absolutely.
Right? And so
Crazy.
it's going to take an investment in some infrastructure and all of that there too. So, you know, if there's a millionaire listening to this podcast that wants to open up, you know, Hoop Dome West there for us, you know, hit us up and we'll get that going. But
Yeah,
to me, that's the number one thing too, is get the facilities out there, get the resources out there, the talent will follow, right?
absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. So, I mean, you've also launched a new venture as well during this COVID as well. So you've launched your own consulting firm there. But tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I mean, I think it stemmed from the fact of, so I'm a basketball person. I'm passionate about basketball. I'm in the business of basketball, and I didn't want to be pigeonholed to being the basketball guy or North Pole Hoops guy. Just love North Pole Hoops, love basketball, but I wanted to show and prove that, hey, everything that I've done, if I can do it in basketball, which again is such a young industry and young market, imagine what I could do in another field, whether it be real estate, whether it be smart home technology, whether it be a charity. These are all things that I'm involved with. I'm an immigration company. You know, I'm involved with a lot of different companies, and it's amazing to be able to jump in those sectors, build those relationships, and help their businesses grow. You know, I've done it for my company, and I want to do it for other companies because I've been through the hurdles and the mistakes. I've made many mistakes that I've learned from, and they've cost me a lot of money over the years. And so if I can help entrepreneurs and if I can help companies avoid those mistakes and support their process and like really like clean their vision, like make sure they have a clear vision of what they want and kind of have a plan for it, like that's what I'm doing. So and you know, it's, if I laid it out on my social media page, like there's what does a consultation mean? There's a lot. It offers a lot, from leadership development to, you know, to digital marketing, to brand development, you know, all the way to culture building, you know. And every company I learned through going, like since COVID started, like 4 or 5 months, I've learned that every company is obviously at a different time in their you know, tenure, but and every company needs something different at different times. So it's allowed me to diversify and reach my full potential. You know, like I'm not like, and I've said this for many years, like I'm not money driven. You know, money is the byproduct of what I do. People like laugh at me or they say ABC, like I am impact driven, you know. So if I need to be challenged, right? And I need to, if I'm not challenged, I need to find something that's going to challenge me. So that was the kind of main reason that I wanted to diversify beyond just basketball. Now, don't get me wrong. We are consulting for many organizations in basketball, whether it be a club, whether it be a skill development company. We do a lot. And I think the biggest thing over the last 5 months was to develop my team, develop the people. If we're saying, you know, leadership development is one of the things we offer. Well, I've done it with my team where, you know, the demand was so high for we want to help as many people as possible, but the demand is high. We need to develop the supply. The supply is the people to execute the job. So teaching them, mentoring them, developing that to where they can, you know, run an account, to where they can, you know, provide the needs that we're offering. And that was the biggest kind of challenge, while damage control, trying to generate revenue to keep the company alive. That's kind of been my last 4 or 5 months. And again, I never, like, I did a quick pivot and just go, and, we're in a great spot, thankfully, like, where we're kind of set up now where now for us, okay, it's game time now. You know what I mean? Like, the infrastructure is all set up on the consultation side. And again, if basketball doesn't ever come back, which is not likely at all, but if it doesn't come back within a year, let's say, or 6 months, like, we're all going to be okay. But obviously, like, as it comes back, it's going to be awesome, because the development of the people, like, they have to, like, I challenged my team to diversify. Mm-hmm. Like, operations people jumping into digital marketing, operations people jumping in the scouting department, videographers jumping into the scouting department, and it's still happening. It's like, what I learned, Kyle, is that, like, everybody reacts to this differently. Like, there's a lot of fear mongering going on in the media, and that's what hurts. It hurts me to see, because I have family and friends that are all affected. I'm trying to help by sharing some information that they don't have to, like, live in fear. Mm-hmm. Like, live your life, be careful and take the precaution, but live your life, find that balance, because, I've seen how different people reacted. The people that have stayed composed and taken all the precautions and moved forward. I've promoted different people in my company in the last 4 or 5 months. They've evolved. They've got new opportunities because they kept moving. And I've noticed that some maybe haven't. It's still kind of trying to get over that hump. Again, everyone reacts differently, but all we can do is lead by example and show them that there's another way. And that's what I'm passionate about doing, is to show company entrepreneurs. I talk to, like, business owners, executives, CEOs, whatever, on a regular basis. And, like, when I realized that, like, there were executives and CEOs, like, of like multi-million-dollar companies, which are way bigger than North Pole Hoops in terms of staff and everything. And I realized that, like, they needed my help. That's when I was like, oh, wow. Like, I thought they'd be okay, considering. But then obviously, if you're running, a 7-figure, 8-figure company, you obviously have that much higher responsibility. So mm-hmm. That's where the fear comes in. And so it's just like, mindset is what I try to, share with people. It's to share that growth mindset. Like, everything's gonna be all right. Like, we just got to keep the ball moving and adjust. That's the key thing. Sorry, I'm kind of jumping all over the place, but
no,
this is just stuff that's happening.
Through, right? So, what was this always sort of something that you had wanted to do, but just never had the time because of how involved you were with sort of North Pole Hoops and the 1,000,001 things that were going on? And now that sports sort of came to a standstill, you finally had the opportunity to launch? Or was the plan always from the hop, COVID or not, that this summer this was the plan to launch this consulting firm?
That's a great question. What's interesting about that is, I brought on my first client before COVID. Mm-hmm. I started with a group, a really good group, and why I did that was because my team was, like, holding things down with MPH. So I'm still involved every day. 100% of my time is MPH and the other projects, but I didn't have to be as hands-on, because again, leadership development, they're able to take on the things that I used to do, and so it was definitely not a part of the plan, but it was, it basically, COVID helped me press fast forward on it, as in, and I mean, hey, like, the last 10 years made me who I am now. Mm-hmm. And so, because I can't do this without those 10 years of experience. Yeah. And so definitely it was not even in my radar from a year ago, 2 years ago, 5 years ago, but it just lined up almost perfectly where, I'm ready to do this because of COVID helped, because it kind of slowed down the pace a little bit with the rest of the world, but I just kept moving. And so, yeah, and it's been pretty cool, because it has helped our company diversify. From a straight business standpoint, we go from 4 revenue streams to 8 revenue streams. Now, not all 8 revenue streams are active. Obviously, the events are on pause till further notice. But when it's all back, that's what it's going to be really, like, cool to see the fruits of. That's where we'll see the most fruits of our labor, based on not, like, the financial, again, is the byproduct of the leadership of the different people on our team and their growth, the growth of the people. You can't grow a business if you can't grow people. You can't develop a business if you can't develop people. And so that is what I learned working with different executives is like they're at a certain point and it's like might be generating good money, making good money, whatever, annually, but you can't get to that next level alone. And I got a good reader, a good watch, John Maxwell. He's one of my mentors. I don't know him personally, but literally like my mentor, because I had to learn from people on YouTube. Yeah. And so John Maxwell, he said, I remember him saying like, you get to the mountaintop, right? And you're all alone. You haven't done anything. You've shown that you can lead yourself. So you get to that mountain, you're on that mountaintop. The next thing you do, you go back down and you bring everybody up with you. Mm-hmm. That's amazing to me because, you got to go to the people that need your help. And so as I did it in my career, and I'm trying to share that with the different companies I consult for, they're always at that same kind of checkpoint that they need to, or hump that need to get over, where it's like, okay, you can do it. It's not about you anymore. You're a killer. You can hit shots, hit that 3 ball all day, but you got to now play make. You got to be LeBron James. You're not just, a 3-point sniper. If you want to chase championships, if you want to win a chip, you got to elevate others. So, and that's the thing about it is like literally basketball and business and life are exactly the same to me. Exactly the same to me in terms of concepts and just the way that it works when it comes to winning, period. Like winning in life, winning a basketball game, winning a championship.
Yeah. No, amazing stuff. And for those, we'll get to, where people can reach you in a second there. But for those that are listening right now who, do have questions and are curious about the journey, make sure you reach out and connect there because, you got a wealth of experience to share. So, but before we let you go here, we're going to get you to make a couple predictions for us here. So looking into your crystal ball here, who wins the NBA championship and who's the NBA Finals MVP here?
Oh, man. Do you want my emotional take or do you want my logical take?
Let's put it, if you had to actually bet your mortgage on it, who
oh boy, honestly, if I go with mortgage on it, I mean, how can you go against the Lakers? They are playing better and better by each series. It's going to be interesting to see if LeBron, because in Game 7 the last game with Denver, Game 5, you've seen LeBron put up like big LeBron numbers, and you see him turning up for this final series. And he's a team first player, but he's gonna elevate just by his competitive nature. He's gonna elevate his performance, where it'll be interesting whether he gets MVP or Anthony Davis gets MVP, because Anthony Davis has been hooping the whole playoffs. Yeah. So I would say Lakers win it. This is my logical take. Lakers win it in 5 or 6, probably 6. I'll give 6. Probably 5. Again, we're just going logical. But if you want my emotional take, I'm gonna go with I'm going Miami in 7. Like I would put money. I probably will put money down on Miami just because the odds are so great or so much against them. The payout would be like, it'd be worth taking a risk on. And what I love about Miami is Pat Riley. Pat Riley brings LeBron over to Miami. They win 2 championships with Dwayne Wade. He leaves, and he took that personally. I don't know if you remember, but he went on publicly with that. Yeah. He took that personally because he thought LeBron was going to stay with him. So they regroup. Then they get like if you look at the culture of Miami, they are gritty, top down. Mm-hmm. From Pat Riley, Eric Spoelstra, then you look at Jimmy Butler, their stud. You look at Bam, like all these guys are underdogs. They're all like the kid from Kentucky, the shooter,
Tyler Herro.
Yeah, Tyler Herro. Like, what the heck? No one expected them to be here. They're the 5th seed. So I love the underdog story. I'm an underdog myself, and I like to support them. So that's my emotional take, right? Yeah, so enough. There you go.
So in the next 2 Olympic Games, how many medals does Canada take home for basketball?
Oh my gosh. How many medals?
Yeah.
In 2, so they'll take. they should take a medal each time. So 2 medals, right?
Yeah. Okay.
Which color? That is to be determined. I think that we, realistically speaking, the upcoming one, whatever medal we get, great. As long as we get medal, and because the talent is higher than anyone else. If we got the talent, then what's the problem? But I'll give them until the next one to go get gold, because beating the States is always going to be not just the States, but Spain, Serbia. Like, basketball is global, and teams are really, really good.
Yeah.
They're very structured.
Yeah. All right. And last one here. Where do the Nets finish in the East next year with Steve Nash at the helm?
Ooh. I'll go. They're gonna finish top 3. So
Top 3 in the East.
Top 3 in the East.
There you go. So thank you so much for joining us today. Really appreciate you taking the time. But for those that are interested in either connecting with you or learning more about NPH, NPA, your consulting business, where's the best way to reach out to you?
Yeah, so like for North Pole Hoops, just all our social media handles at North Pole Hoops. Feel free to follow. And then my personal account is Tariq, TARIQ _, my last name, SBIET. If you kind of want to see what's going on in the business, more of the business side, consultation, and you'll get a little bit more of me.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, we wish you all the best. And yeah, hopefully we're able to stay on some courts for longer than a couple of weeks here and get through the winter, and hopefully, get to January 2021 and get some OBA return to competition here. But who knows what the future holds there. So for those that are listening, wear your masks, wash your hands, and let's keep hooping here.
Let's take it day by day. Take it day by day.